Man.
Or
Cool.
Maria, who
And
knows?
and we're live, boys.
All right.
Yeah, welcome to today's episode of Real Value Crypto. I'm joined today by three fine guests. I have Mr. Krisma, Ivan Golovko, and Maddie Greenspan, all from financial fundamental analyst backgrounds. It's good to have you guys here.
Great to
Thanks a
be
lot
here.
for having us, man.
My pleasure. The ambition of this podcast, this episode, is just to tackle some of the more like fundamental aspects. Because I remember like when I first joined, I saw so many of these projects, cryptocurrencies, altcoins, and they're all so shiny, nice, and new, and we kind of get absorbed into them. So I want to tackle something that people don't talk much about, and like what actually makes a project valuable, and how can you spot as a retail investor, what to go for. So I'll start with this question. Um, as a retail investor, what are the metrics one should look at when investing for the longer term? Um, shall I start with you, Krisma?
Yeah, sure. Why not? For starters, we are assuming those are in crypto, so
Mhm.
many assets are really volatile and then they are depending on how the big guy is acting, which is Bitcoin, obviously in that case, not fiat at any point. Um, yeah, so if we assume that the project is doing well and the brand is established already on some good exchange, let's just assume all the good scenario here. Then all secondary points that we need to include are like whether the smart contract is there to keep the tokens or coins perhaps to be locked upon some certain amount of time, so there won't be much of a distribution without track record for that point, because otherwise we might have some kind of problems as retail investor with which we already saw on the market with some projects. I won't uh, put any examples here, but I'm pretty sure most of you know already who is bad actor, who is a good actor, and etc. So yeah, the most important part to me is whether the project with the token itself does some kind of inflation, deflation. What is it? How it is going? Mm, how much
Big
money is put into the market maker? Is there any kind of market maker, or maybe the group of market makers? Because that part was highly underestimated by the projects from 2017, which caused them to, well, underperform during the many cycles of the market. For example, one of them is, and here I can put some kind of example because it's kind of neutral in that case. It's Golem, because like those guys got a lot of money during early days of Ethereum, and now on when we will see how the progress is doing, well, there is progress obviously, but in terms of development, but when it comes to market moves, let's say, there is not as much. So we can assume that there is, on one point, there is not much of a demand, or perhaps maybe people are just not using the network itself. So we gotta re-evaluate whether we want to hold something like this or not, and that will be my take.
Thank you. Um, Maddie, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, it is two strong points from Chris there. So number one is the inflation or deflationary. Are there more coins coming online, or are they going out of use? And then the second one is the usage of the network, right? If there's a lot of usage on the network, that's generally something that tends to lead to demand. Demand pushes up price. Any kind of new project, I would say that you have to always kind of take it with a huge amount of risk management, because 90 upwards of 90% of all startups do end up failing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're talking about ICOs, if you're talking about a new crypto that you just heard of and just come online, remember to doing your own research is not even it's like only the tip of the iceberg. It's just understand that it's probably going to fail, and that's why you always have to not invest more than you can afford to lose. But at the same time, invest in things that have a much more viable, much more staying power. And you don't always find that many options in the crypto market, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, you're a senior analyst at eToro, correct?
Correct.
So I'm sure you see this countless times a week, a month, just different various projects, whether it's in or out of crypto, just failing outright.
Yep.
Just,
Yep.
yes.
It was known in 2017 in the ICO bubble. We understood very well that first of all the SEC is going to come in and slam the hammer down, and then second of all that these are startups. I mean, and you always gotta be very cautious. So what the ICO market has done has opened up the democratization of finance, something that was only available for venture capitalists before, was suddenly available for the masses. And that's a really awesome thing. But the problem with that is most of us masses don't necessarily know how to do our homework properly, how to invest with risk management and stuff like that. This is why a lot of people ended up losing money in that period of time.
Yeah.
Or in the subsequent period of time in 2018, anyways.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Massacre came.
Yeah, in 17, you could throw money at anything and it would go up at some point. So, or even like 14, 15, 16. So like the game's changed a lot, and it really took people by surprise in 2018. But yeah, very good points. Ivan, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, great points pointed out, guys. So indeed, like, why do people invest to start to buy something that's still undervalued, right, in their perception, and then it would grow because of the usage of whatever other reasons. So like when you evaluate and look at points, you have two factors: the team and the project doing some adoption, right, as we call it. But as we see, the adoption part of the market cap, if you look at the percentages, is still like 5%, right? From the actual usage of the product, you might have, let's say, a few hundred K, while the market cap of a project is in dozens of millions. So what you end up having is, even though all of the fundamental things might check out, and you are sure it's a good deal, the thing is that market conditions are even more important. Like, as you know, YouTube was started many times before YouTube as an idea actually came to life, right, and was successful. So the trend is really an important factor, because before in 2018, a project raising 50 million was at some point considered a low cap, right? Right now, if you raise 5, you already considered you're raising too much. So even though all the things might be even better than they were before, eventually market really decides a lot. So as you said, like, startups are very risky, and in crypto market is even more of an important factor, because usage across all blockchain and projects is still low. Of course, it's bigger than before, but because of the trend, it has like a negative compounding effect in that sense.
Yeah, that's really fair. Also, to anyone at home right now, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in chat. We have these fine gentlemen for roughly 20 to 25 minutes, so we're going to go through a couple questions. Next question. Let's see. What makes a project fundamentally attractive to hedge funds and seed investors, not only financially, supply-wise, but also from within the team? Maddie, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things, and every different hedge fund and every different venture capitalist is going to have a very different view on this. I mean, I just spoke with somebody last week who told me they work for a firm who laughed Joe Lubin out the door when he pitched them the Ethereum ICO. So obviously they were looking for very different things, and I think that overall, people like to look at the whole picture, right? So you have the team. How does the team work together? You have, if there's previous funding is a very good sign. The product the market, is the market ready, the timing. But I think, at the end of the day, the most important thing is if this has a good shot of working out, and if it does work out, is there money to be made here? And if the answer is yes, then they're going to invest in it.
Fair enough. How much does the human aspect play into it? Like the person spearheading it, the one pitching the idea, does that have a big effect at the meeting itself, or is it more?
Of course, of course. I mean, Steve Jobs was notorious for for going in and wooing investors or whatever. That's I think that confidence is key in charisma, and there's a reason for that, because that confidence and that charisma come from somewhere and lead to somewhere.
That's very well said. Yeah, a lot of people have sold very bad ideas, but they were very good at articulating it, and they believed in what they were doing. So that's also huge as well. Krisma, do you want to add something?
Fire Festival, man.
Oh, dude, that's a great example. Oh, don't even get me started there.
I can relate to this for sure. Like, okay. Yeah. So I just, instead of one bigger description of how I am seeing this in terms of the question, I just prepared like a few points that have to be, Baxi, help me out, have to be kind of like done in terms of any kind of VC to come in and take you seriously from the first moment you come in and try to pitch your own idea or the project and beg them for money. So, like, first will be how much they plan to raise, in what venue, how they plan to spend that money, because that's the most important part, because many founders in the space already are asking many projects at the first meeting, like, okay, let's just assume you need $2 million or perhaps $10 million. Why do you need such amount of money, like 10 or 20 or $30 million right now? Why can't you just do another round if you need it so badly, and just present to us the outcome of our investment in half a year or so? And mostly the sad part is the people who are not able to answer to that question are going straight into the ICO, because retail investors won't ask you the same question as the VC would ask. You understand? So it's like a gap between the retail investor here and institutional kind of investors. And if I may, I highly recommend to any kind of investor that invested in any kind of ICO and is hearing this right now, assume that any investment you are doing is a bad investment. Try to convince yourself your investment is worthy of your money, because many people won't think as good of you and your money you are bringing into their project as they would think of you. So yeah, that will be the first part. Then speeding up a bit, analyze performance on traditional market, if there is any, like if the project did already equity raise, so we can assume they have money. So what did you do with that kind of money? This is most important question of all, because if in the prospect you are seeing that project raised like $2 million, which is obviously the kind of sum that you can use for something, and all you see is like they have a working website and stuff like that, then you just can't treat those people seriously.
Yeah. Are you kidding?
Next one.
One ICO I remember that raised $100 million for a stupid debit card that was supposed to draw crypto.
I even remember a few of those.
$100 million for what? What are you gonna do with that? Man, those guys were partying it up for weeks. They didn't have to put out
for a week. You are spending
for a year.
No, for a week.
They were partying it up. But they didn't have any pressure to perform. because
Exactly. Because
they
who
just
will go
sold a
after them?
utility token. Nobody can come after them. The money's theirs. And they
Yeah,
don't ever have
exactly
to
that.
even put the work in for the product. Oh, it's just
Yeah.
such a shame.
Um, again, I would love to bring some kind of examples because obviously I knew some, but I just don't want to bring any kind of negativity into this fine conversation.
I appreciate that, Krisma.
Yeah, going forward. Um, if you have clear fund overview, like that includes advantages and competition report. If you, on the other hand, don't have any of those, then that means only as a founder of any kind of project, you didn't do much of a homework yourself because you are coming in asking for money, no matter if that's retail or institutional kind of investor like venture capital or something. If you don't have those, and believe me, I saw even recently some pitch decks that didn't had any of those, like any numbers. They just had dreams described it all over, and 3 pages were about their bio of the team. So you can just imagine how that went. Uh, yeah. So if you don't have those, just don't even start. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
consistency when it comes to profits with current funding versus scenario where they get money from an external company of sorts, like exactly what I said before, venture capital. Like, what are you going to do with that money? What you did? This basically the
It's
summarization.
not only that the venture capitalist knows how to uh, get extract the value once the project is built. So meaning that they're actually going to take a stake in the company of somehow. What happened in
Yeah.
the
Okay.
ICO market, and I think a lot of people learned their lesson, is that they came up with this new thing called utility tokens. And these utility tokens actually guarantee the holder absolutely nothing. So it's not like a share in the company. If you have a share in the company, you own part of the company. If the company goes bust or goes bankrupt or whatever, you get your portion of the company back, right? If it does well, you get to enjoy from the profits of that company. You're a part owner. With a utility token, what you're owning is it's
Nothing.
just nothing. It's
Got
just
that.
The
until
roadmap. You
until the
own the
product is
roadmap, man.
built. You don't even own the road. You own nothing. You own something that might have value someday, and you won't know what the value will be. It,
Like,
and it's just it's a shame of a way to invest. And then look, it's not to say that there's not winners, right? Ethereum, big winner, especially for somebody who timed it right. They got in on the ICO of Ethereum. Damn, I mean they made a lot of money. I'm sure there are others out there that are not coming to my mind at the moment. But what needs to be understood, and why this will never happen again, is that is the fact that people are now wiser. The fact that we have now, 4 people on this stream, and we all kind of understand these basic rules of the road. That's why there will never be an ICO bubble like this again. I think within the next 3 decades.
That's a really good point you bring up, and this actually leads into my next question. Is it even advisable at this point to invest longer term in certain cryptocurrency projects?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, with risk management, at the moment, I mean, I can show you my portfolio on eToro. I've got less than 10% on crypto. Uh, Meaning that there are specific projects that I feel are worthwhile investing in, but those are extremely risky projects, right? I'm holding Litecoin, Binance, IOTA, XRP. I mean, just to name a few. But none of them really with more than 1-2%. And Bitcoin I've got about 5%, right? Because I kind of believe in Bitcoin. But the rest of them, I mean, even though I think they do have long-term viability, we still don't even have a very valid way of evaluating what those currencies should be worth, right? Even if I feel that IOTA is going to gain in adoption over the next 10 years, I still wouldn't have any way of putting a price tag on that coin.
Yeah, so exactly, like liquidity is low, right? So it pretty much at this point, because you cannot even understand what's the proper way of evaluating this, it's more or less gambling, right? In most of the cases, you just expect something to gain value later on, but there is really no framework or no fundamental basis to a proper extent to base it upon.
Exactly right.
Yeah, so basically, if you're gonna invest in this, get ready to lose your money. And like Maddie said, except for Bitcoin, I mean, there's nothing that's really been that has proved.
But even Bitcoin, I couldn't tell you what the fair value is going to be.
Very
right?
true.
It could the fair value could end up being $2,000.
But isn't it what the miners would pay?
Or $500,
right?
Or $100,000. How are you going to know? Well, the miners are looking at the market price to determine what they should be charging. The market is highly speculative, right? We're not in a situation where 80% of the market is driven by actual demand from people in Argentina, Venezuela.
Is there something wrong with audio?
Like
or?
You and me.
Yeah, Argentina is an interesting example for that.
Yeah, Argentina, Venezuela, recently Hong Kong has some sort of a reason to go into Bitcoin. But that's just a small part of the market. The most of the market is driven by speculators like you and me.
Yeah, I remember looking up the numbers, I think, on local Bitcoin. This was 6 months back, and Venezuela has been going through their crisis. Fucking transactions have skyrocketed there, but it is still a small part of the the total picture. But imagine a point where a bigger country is subjected to huge inflation on their native currency. Do you think Bitcoin would equally be used as a way out?
Oh yeah, that's the beauty of Bitcoin.
What if it were to happen to the United States?
Well, if.
That's a big if.
Yeah,
it's a big question.
It's a huge if, and the answer is we don't know until it happens, and we hope that it doesn't happen. There's a lot of different ways that we could look at this. I mean, I've analyzed it every single direction, and the end result is it really depends how things play out. We hope that things continue to go smoothly for a very long time, for the rest of our lifetime and beyond. And if that's the case, we could see a strong bull case for Bitcoin, or even a strong bear case for Bitcoin in both in that scenario. And then obviously, if this whole quantitative easing thing, money printing blows up in their face, which I believe at some point it probably will, how is Bitcoin seen in that case? Well, there is a strong bull case there, but there's also a decent bear case there. So, really, the only thing that you can do as an investor is diversify the fuck out of your portfolio, and hope for the best.
Yeah, like what Matti just said is probably the most important factor in the whole cryptocurrency market itself, because if you will look into the numbers that are doing the biggest moves in the market, despite any kind of OTC trading desk and so on, you will need to focus on basically how much of money printing there is, because whenever and here we go back to the Tether case. Whether any Tether is getting printed, then we get some kind of upside in the liquidity, and the volume, of course. And once that happens, the thing that is most loved by the traders itself, volatility, comes to the party. And once that it starts, the demand into the trading itself starts all over again, and the ball is in the play again. So what I would actually think of in that case will be when and if, and that's another big if, maybe not as big as the other one. What if the Tether printer or any alternative that may come within upcoming years will go and rise to the at least 5% of the printer of the and help me out with this one, Madi, because you are from the US, I assume, and you can tell me a bit more about it. What is happening right now with the Nasdaq, with the Dow Jones, and so on? Those traditional market is SEC fund is pumping a lot of billions of dollars into it to help a bit.
Oh, no, Krisma.
Help
It's
me
not
out
the
here.
SEC. It's okay. So it's the Fed. I wrote an entire
Fed, this one. Sorry.
blog about this on Tuesday, and that was the essential point. Was that, if you think that Tether is pumping Bitcoin, just think about how the central banks of the world are pumping the rest of the stock market.
Exactly.
Much larger. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Going into the stock market in the last 10 years has basically been creating nothing. It's just basically unbacked fiat currencies, and it's serving to pump up asset prices. That's exactly what's happening. I wrote on my Twitter.
I'm having some audio issues. Am I the only one here?
No, it might be on Maddie's end.
Sorry about that. Anyways, I said you can go back on my Twitter feed like 2 days ago. That was the exact blog post, the exact train of thought that I had. That people are getting on Tether's case, and probably if they did do what they're saying, then yeah, that would be illegal according to law, right? But what's not illegal is central banks continuously printing more money to pump up asset prices. They're not even lying to the fact. They're not even like saying, "Oh, we're not doing it." They're deliberately doing that. They're deliberately printing more money that doesn't have any backing whatsoever, and it's getting pumped into the stock market, the bond market, and other markets, and throwing asset prices through the moon. So people getting on Tether's case, did Tether do it? I don't know. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But whatever they did, it's just small in comparison to the rest of the fiat system.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously.
All right. On that note, I gotta hit the road, guys. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for input, man. That was a good talk.
Bye for now.
Yeah. Cheers. Yeah. By the way, getting back to the point where we kind of agreed on the fact that ICO hype will not happen again, right? Because we're educated. Personally, I don't really agree per se, because we see that in any market you constantly have the cycles up and down, right? And people love volatility. So every time you have some new wave, people are excited again. They want to jump and make their 100x, and that happens in any market, right? So even though we're educated to an extent, right, we might next time just still do the same thing anyway. And new people will come in, new retail. So in that case, we might just see maybe new assets doing the same thing, maybe not the old ones, but there is still the part where people are just, greedy in their nature.
FOMO, baby.
Yeah, FOMO is always there.
Oh yeah. That's a really good point, and that's actually going to lead me to my next question. Yeah, and I think, Ivan, you'll be able to answer this one really well. Which categories of the market earn a lot due to technological barriers that blockchain solves? And I'll tie that into, what kind of projects we should be looking at in the coming time.
Go on, Mr. LTO man. Go on.
Let's go.
Well, without doing any shilling, basically what you're asking now is really important, because that ties to usage, right? Because if you don't only want to have this pump and down speculative cash flow, you want to have user cash flow. And for users, they need to understand why they're using what you're giving to them, right? There needs to be a reason for them to spend money on it. So what Bitcoin tries to solve is, at this point, before the narrative was different, right? Started as payments, now it's like store of value, as many people perceive it. And then the narrative in the market persists. So that's a USP. Why? You store value without having to rely on anybody to keep it for you. Then you have Ethereum, which is now being set as like money, right? You have this DAI as a stable coin. and then you are able to transact value in a stable manner, also without any intermediary there. So that's another USP. So in that sense, it makes sense because, let's say, if you want to transact with somebody you're not really allowed to for whatever stupid reasons, or PayPal blocks you out or whatnot, they use crypto because you really need it, right? That's from the financial side. People also, like, and from LTO side, we put a lot of emphasis on the enterprise, but I'm not a fan of B2B sales. That's why I don't do it, right? But there is a lot of excitement there. They need to innovate because otherwise they stall and stop. So even though maybe some USPs are not as clear now, there is a lot of innovation going on in terms of trying to use it. So not like technical innovation in terms of ZK proofs or whatnot, but more like trying to plug it in different services, well, like, I don't know, food traceability or automation of processes, or securing your digital data. For example, sometimes people see that it's kind of like a stretch, right? But sometimes they really see value in it. So I guess just to shorten it down from the financial side, where you just want to do payments or store value without having to rely on anybody, so without custody, right? That's one. From the enterprise usage, for them automating processes and securing digital data, even within the SaaS as like an extra added service, that's another one. And yeah, guys, what would you add?
Mostly from me, it will be about what is BitMEX doing for speculation. That will be the first one, because that's how we get into the place we are in right now. That's how the whole market started. So let's just not forget that. But as it comes for any kind of, well, widely assumed adoption, I would go with well, as if Ivan said before, and I will refer to the news that Binance came out with. So sorry, Baxi, if you will get shadow banned for this one by Binance or something. But CZ announced that Binance is now handling the Alipay, and that was WeChat perhaps, or some other.
Yeah, Alipay and WeChat, you're right.
Yeah. So the cringe here in the party is like, okay, we have Binance that is doing great job out there with the current fee system and so on, but on the other hand, we have, and obviously they are handling a lot of fiat gates that are doing quite well, because I used one of those myself, and they were just quick as they should be. But as it went to the party with Asian community companies, as WeChat, then we are going into the territory that has to be somehow regulated, and it is by the company itself. So at this point, we gotta ask ourselves: is that money really mine, or is it company that can do anything with it, with the policy as some sort of shield here? So here is where Bitcoin and any other cryptocurrency that has some kind of blockchain on its own comes to the party with the transactions that can be done at any point, any minute, any time, because you don't hear about any kind of news how great it was, the transaction between two companies worldwide that did somehow 1 billion worth of contract between those, because then you will hear also about how high fee in this transaction between two banks was, and I can tell you it will be, well, a lot more than 100 US dollars in some cases. That will be crazy, but yeah, it's how it is. And with Bitcoin, you hear what? You hear like the fee will be less than $10. Sorry, less than $10. So yeah, that's my comparison. That's the argument. Think about it this way.
That's really fair. I think for this whole thing, I guess the category that would earn the most is probably going to be gaming at the core. I think that gamers will and are already ahead of the curve, in a sense. They know how to use computers. They know they could easily learn how to function a wallet, send it to each other. it's going to be the like where you can actually like you were saying, Krisma, like gamify um, items in any
Yeah, it's a fair point because the most amazing thing here is gamers were ready for Bitcoin and other things like Bitcoin before Bitcoin was even created. Because before that, even we have like how is it called? The transactions within the game that you can do for stuff itself, like for items. It's many time to be seen in the free-to-play games where you can just buy some kind of item, well, for your horse, for example, in return for some token that is not really a token in the meaning of cryptocurrency, but just some kind of storage of value within the game platform or game itself that can be swapped into the goods that developer of the game is offering to you. So in that case, yeah, you can just buy some kind of item. And to be honest, from that standpoint of view, as former game developer, I can tell you that, well, most of those cases, whether it's some sort of token itself in the free-to-play game, or maybe even World of Warcraft, where you have gold, which is a native currency there, but not obviously our gold, but let's just say alternative from the World of Warcraft lore and ecosystem. You could easily swap any of those by addition of any kind of SDK from the blockchain companies like, well, I don't want to shill anything, but let's just say you could do that even with Ethereum because smart contracts are allowing this to you by doing so with the protocol around it to just imagine how cool it will be. You are playing on Saturday evening with your friends, and perhaps some of those guys want to greet you with some pizza, but you are on the other side of the town, so instead he's just doing a transfer from his gaming wallet within the game to yours, and this way you can just go back to the desktop, uh, withdraw this money directly to some kind of cryptocurrency wallet, and monetize that money to get you a damn pizza. That's you just can't do the same trick with the fiat. Obviously you can in the short term, but you can't do the same within the game, and that's a big thing. That's why all the companies right now, the gaming companies, are creating some kind of storage of value that is called some kind of token, like the game title plus the token phrase itself, so you can do that stuff on your own. So use cases are already there. What you just need is implementation of some kind of product that will allow you to just the stuff, right? Like we are doing the same right now from the wallet to another wallet in the cryptocurrencies.
Hello, gamers. Well, let me disagree there with you, or at least ask you a question. So what you're saying now is there is the technological stack, and you just now need to implement, right? But then you assume the top to bottom adoption approach, right? Where companies that already have audience would implement blockchain. But why? So as far as I understand, one of the most appealing concept of why blockchain for gaming is, as you said, you own your avatar, you own your assets, right? In terms of NFTs or whatnot. And then you're able to really own them, trade them freely, and so on. But that way, the company who is actually making that game completely removes their incentives because people can just freely trade them on another instead of buying from the company. So what's the incentive for a company to actually do this?
Probably to prevent item duplication. I think that costs businesses a lot of money.
But they own the game, no? So all the assets are within their environment. They don't actually go outside of their environment. So, for example, a company that has let's even take Fortnite as an example, right? You actually buy new packages from them. And imagine you simply allowed them to be tradable freely. Then who would buy them? Where would the revenue stream come from?
I guess the company itself would have to own a large amount of the supply in some way.
No, that wouldn't help a lot. Like
No, it wouldn't.
maybe instead of what's going on, it will be like additional features, like when we are speaking about some kind of item, for example, it could be tangled, and like some tiers of those items could be tangled into your NPC, your how is it called, like to your
Your character?
avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, character, avatar, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this way, it will be kind of special to them and to you to have that exact item, because there is some um, amount of this within the game world, and this is only applicable when you have some amount of token. We can speculate about how this approach can be done for hours, to be honest, but what I was about to do was actually just most basic idea, just to show the argument I was prepping with the pizza, and that was about it.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I guess it remains to be seen if larger companies are going to take that and why. I'm not as, I guess, knowledgeable in that sense, so I'd have to do some more research myself to come up with some decent arguments for that. But like one project that I'm aware of is Engine, for example, with Minecraft and that kind of model. Do you think in that case, Ivan, that projects like Engine are not going to perform well because there is no incentive for?
What's their token model, if you recall it? Because I don't think I checked the update. I know what it is. I actually participated myself in the ICO almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, exactly
Nice.
2 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
When you say token model, by what means do you?
So what do they actually do with the token there? Is it used as like a representing an asset? So it's like a collateral to actually have a part of the asset, or it's like a earning the fees for that, or what do they do there?
What I understand is they back assets in a game off their own their coin, and the developers of the game buy the token and implement it within their own interface.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So, but this approach, I would say, if you go for developers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of from the bottom to top approach. So, for example, if you try to pitch Bitcoin to banks, they will be like, yeah, that's exactly what's killing us, right? So they wouldn't implement it. But to the users, that would make sense. So, for example, if you're a game developer, instead of having a 30% cut from your revenue by posting a game on Apple Store, right? You can just use some kind of decentralized platform to do it, and there is your incentive. So you actually do need to work. But in that case, you're taking the bottom to top approach, which of course I think is the solution there, because big companies wouldn't want to do it since they would be cutting their feet off, shooting themselves in the feet, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But for developers and a decentralized kind of community that way, where gamers would themselves decide to switch, then that's definitely an option. And yeah, but then you need kind of a revolution there happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to drop from. Why do these games look so amazing, right? All of these centralized games. Because they have tons of money from venture capital and revenue streams coming from all of it. Mm-hmm. And if you're just a developer team somewhere, I don't know, in a WeWork.
Indie game. WeWork.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, WeWork. No, in an office of WeWork.
Oh, yeah.
WeWork. Yeah, of course, yeah. That's a separate topic, yeah. Then you don't really have those resources yet. So you need to inspire people to use it first. And then you can keep building the UX better. Like, let's say the same as it was with blockchains, right? With Ethereum. First, you needed to do all of this complicated stuff. Now it's more easier with all of the other stuff that helps you interact with the blockchain. Mm-hmm. So building that layer needs an incentive there.
And Peter brings up a good point on Twitch. He said, I think in-game currencies were made to keep the players inside the game and obfuscate how fast and how much they were actually spending in real money.
Hold on, we are on Twitch as well?
Yeah, we're everywhere, man.
Holy fuck, that's kind of amazing. I
nice
didn't
point.
know
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice point from Peter there. So, yeah, that's like, Peter, I think he's trying to mention the fact, like, prepaid gift cards, right? Mm-hmm. Because you basically get the money in, but you can't get it out. So for companies, gift cards is actually an amazing tool, because you end up people buying them as gifts, but then they can't really cash them out, right? Yeah. So it's pretty much easy revenue without any backlash at all. Because many people just forget about that.
Mm-hmm. And I guess
money stays in the company itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very fair.
So yeah, now imagine you would have all the companies that are game companies competing would allow cross trading between different platforms, right? Because within the game you don't really need the blockchain, right? Do you need the blockchain within the company? No, because not everyone is going to host their own node within the company. There is usually like a service within the company, and the CTO provided that. So similar in the game itself, you wouldn't need the blockchain there, but there is no incentive for them to allow the leakage of users and value to other games, really, unless it's all within the same empire. So that was my comment to Krisma. Even though I agree with the NFTs and the gaming there and the gaming community themselves being really on the forefront of what's happening, right? Because they're very much knowledgeable and all that stuff. You need a different model than just integrating with current big games because they don't have an incentive to do so.
Right.
It's like telling to a bank, use Bitcoin.
Yeah, actually, what I was, and thank you for the input. Yeah, it's really valuable, and it was really a pleasure just to hear it out. What I was really meant in that case, like the payment feature between users will be actually just an additional feature, not the main feature, because obviously, as you said, this way we can bring in our money and go out with it. But when it comes to the additional stuff within the game, then yeah, you could buy the stuff directly from the developers, and this way this creates a new stream revenue for the profits for the company that can be done for years and years. So basically, yeah, our ideas were like merged, but however that is.
Awesome. We're on the same page then. Dax, are you with us?
Yeah, 100%. I'm just following you guys. You guys are the brains in here. But with that being said, I've already taken 45 minutes of your time, so I don't want to take any more. Are there any final notes, anything you'd like to talk about before we...
He doesn't want to listen to us, man.
I don't think he has a good time, yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, cool.
Guys, yeah. But I guess, Ivan, I'll start with you. Is there anything you want to add?
You're lucky you have that mask, we can see your face.
I know.
I already sent the screenshot of you to the Chinese government. They will run you through face recognition.
Please, sir.
Don't worry.
Gotta hide my eyes now.
Anyways, yeah, that was great discussion. I didn't expect it much of it, and it was really fun. I can assure you of that. Yeah.
I'm very
definitely. But Krisma, do you have anything you want to still, I don't know, shill or ask as throw as a question to the audience?
From my side, I can assure that in upcoming weeks, I can't tell just when, but watch my stuff, watch my live feed, because I will be bringing some good stuff about new kind of network, and not for me from the. I won't get paid for that stuff. Let's just be super direct with it. But instead, I will offer something for the community. So. Keep the notifications on. Yeah, that one. And the second part, honestly, and yeah, that will be chill. But since we are at the end of the show, I can clearly say that. Sorry. LTO is probably one of the most valuable assets within the crypto space, because those guys are taking this adoption part, the utility part, the real utility, which means companies are actually using their technology. In that term, they are probably in top 20, if not even.
By the way, I didn't pay him for that. Just to make it clear, it's at his own will. Okay, no one believes it now.
Yeah. Those are my own words. This is not financial advice. But I'm in Europe, not in US, so Baxi, yeah, you have a problem.
I'm in Canada.
Well, just a comment on that, because yeah.
Either way, yeah, that's the truth. I think, and yeah, love you, Ivan.
Thank you, man. Yeah, but like the comment about good projects, let's say we can love projects, we can love the teams, what they're doing, right? But at the end of the day, they don't actually control the market, because it depends on whether two streams of cash flow here, right? Speculators buy the token because for whatever reasons, right? From shilling, from expectation, from rumors, whatnot, marketing, or usage. So usage is something you want to achieve because that's sustainable, that's something understandable. But at that moment, even though we, like from LTO side, we see clients actually buy the token because they need to pay for the blockchain services, as in fees and staking. The problem why the token goes down is simply because that part of over the entire market cap is still small. And that's because the entire crypto market is severely overvalued in any kind of framework. So maybe it will grow, right? But it doesn't mean that it's at the proper level now. So the liquidity is small across every altcoin. And when people think something is going to go to $10, it might, but it can as well drop to zero. Because if you don't have, and with other projects, with many, you don't have any usage cash flow. So it's simply just people holding and not being able to sell.
Yeah.
So in that case, you don't even need to look at the team per se, because their work is not even that essential. It's simply because of rumors and speculation. But I think it's good for the entire industry to have, I mean, in general, right, for every industry, instead of only hype, you also bring usage. So if that grows across the industry, that's good, because then it can grow properly. And if it doesn't grow, you might as well see everything go down to zero. So it's startups, right? You can't ever be sure.
Guys, I would like to switch into the one question we got on Twitch, because it's really good one, and I'm just really surprised there is such a thing as McAfee DEX.
Yeah.
I just looked at it, and just to keep the answers short, Peter, whenever there will be any kind of decentralized exchange, and it will have actually some kind of, let's just assume, because that's the case we are having here, kind of celebrity as some sort of leader behind it, then it's not really a decentralized exchange.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah.
And that depends on incentives again, right? Why would he do it? Maybe he basically deployed smart, as in a way, I didn't actually check properly. He deployed smart contracts and then takes fees out of them. And on those fees, he actually... Yeah.
Listen to this, because that's the first header news I've got after I spent like 10 seconds of my time to find anything about that thing. Like, listen to it. McAfee DEX is live, and already, guys, really, that's really powerful stuff, even better than Binance DEX, for example, or IDEX, already surviving its first DDoS attack.
Wow.
Do you know how serious this is? Oh my god.
Wow.
Well,
Like,
that's like,
how the
I know
fuck-
who's DDoSing him. It's the CIA. He constantly talks about it, so that's them just not wanting him to succeed.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
You guys want to laugh though? Someone tried going on the McAfee DEX 2 days ago. I forget who it was, and their McAfee antivirus wouldn't let them get to the DEX.
Seriously?
Yeah, they took a fucking screenshot. It was hilarious. If I could find
That's
it.
awesome.
Oh, dude. But yeah, no, I agree. If you have a person and this might sound uneducated, you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you have any leader at the head of a DEX or any team, it's not really a DEX. If you can...
I literally said that at my first sentence about talking about DEX. So
okay,
yeah.
Sorry, this helmet's a bit thick sometimes.
Just take it off, man. It will be easier for you to talk.
Alright,
no.
fine.
That was close.
Maybe at 100K, but
But just in case, if John, if you are listening to us, if you will be in future our president, no, maybe not our, because as I said, I'm in Europe and Ivan as well. But Baxi, listen to this. If John McAfee will be the president of United States, then remember, John, if you are hearing us here, we love you. We love you really much.
Big hearts to John.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love him. John, you are the best. Please don't kill me.
Please. I'm just a Canadian. You want anything to do with me. But
we got the first clue. Yeah, but in terms of DEXs, I think Uniswap is more or less decentralized now. Have you guys tried it?
I've heard
because
of it.
Uniswap is it's just a collection of smart contracts. So it's like on-chain liquidity. So in that case, no one actually controls. I think there are admin keys still, so it's not like purely decentralized. Because in terms of something happens, they want to fix it. But otherwise, it's basically just a backend thing, and you can build any front end on top of it. It's like so in that case, it's like maybe better. I haven't tried it properly yet, but I know techie fans liking it.
Maybe let's skip DEXs for another topic because it seems really powerful to talk about. And let's just stick to the main treat of today.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We could definitely go into Dexys on the next episode. That could be really cool. But
Yeah.
gentlemen, I don't have any more questions for you both. Ivan, is there anything?
That's great to hear.
Yeah. Ivan, is there anything else you'd like to add, Chill, apart from LTO Network, obviously?
I like if you, let's say, liking a project and having to hold it forever are two different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can like your project and help you out, but I can also dump it in the book. And that's the same thing. I don't think people should be fighting with their bags. Like, if the entire industry explodes and goes up, then everyone wins, right? In different extent. So there is no point in trying to kill each other. It's like Peter Thiel in his book, which I'm reading now, 0 to 1. It's a bit of a late read. He says that competition basically will drive you to no margins and zero profit. And if you have a monopoly and everything is growing, everyone is going to win. So there is no point to fight there. Sell, buy whatever you want. And I think it's good if everybody tries to somehow substantially help projects out. Maybe it will not have an immediate impact, right? But if the blockchain industry grows, it's good for everybody who is in it now. Keep building the pyramid, guys. That was a delete that one.
Okay.
Delete.
I loved it.
I'll cut that part out. Don't worry. But thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. I appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Good talk.
Yeah, great
talk. Thank you for the invite. It was lovely.
Awesome. And to everyone at home, welcome to the first episode of Real Value Crypto. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and until next time.